Each year, the sea level rises,
setting off irreversible chain reactions beyond human control.
House on fire.
Welcome to the House on Fire podcast, powered by the CLEO Institute. I'm your host, Dania Toledo, coming to you from ground zero of the climate crisis, Miami, Florida. Today, we're talking about climate technology and innovation in Miami-Dade County. We have with us Francesca de Quesada Covey, or Cesi, the Chief Innovation and Economic Development Officer in Miami-Dade County, with us to talk about some of the latest climate change innovations for our county. Specifically, we'll be talking about the South Florida Climate Ready Tech Hub, the $19.5 million award they received, and how Miami-Dade County plans on investing those funds to ensure that our communities are ready and resilient to climate change impacts. Welcome to the show today.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Awesome. So, Cesi, you have a strong background in technology, having spent almost a decade at Meta, as well as in the Office of Public Engagement under the Obama administration. Could you give us some background on your career and how it prepared you for this role you're in as the Chief Innovation and Economic Development Officer in Miami-Dade County?
So it's awesome to be here. Thank you so much.
Of course.
I don't think anyone has ever put it into the words of I almost spent a decade at Meta. I spent 8 years there. And when I was reading the prep questions in almost a decade, I was like, damn, that was a long time.
That is a long time. You were 2 years short. If we round up, it's 10 years.
There we go. I like that a lot. So I'm really excited to be here. I have pretty big shoes to fill because the last podcast with Louis Aguirre was really, really invigorating. And so, Dania, we have a lot of work to do.
Oh, absolutely. But I'm so excited to get to this.
So my background is really unique. I sit at the intersection of government and technology, which are two sectors that I think if you were to ask which two sectors are the most opposite of each other, you would think about government and technology. And I have built my career on understanding what government does and what it does really well, and how you make sure that you build community support for investments in innovation, and how you work with the private sector and technology companies to scale them. So I started my career in finance. I moved into the Obama administration, where I was lucky enough to work in the Office of Public Engagement and worked with the business community to enact a lot of the work that the White House was doing and to understand the business community's perspective in the policies and programs that the administration was created. And then I went to go work at Facebook, now called Meta, and I worked in the business development and partnerships office, driving collaboration between the public sector and the work that we were doing in Meta, primarily focused on new products. And then I left Meta after nearly a decade and went to come back home to Miami during the pandemic. So I grew up here in Miami. I started working for a venture capital firm and started investing in early stage startups. And at the same time, I had the opportunity to be an advisor to the mayor. It was a Knight Foundation funded opportunity to help her think through Miami's growing tech ecosystem. And that's where I met Mayor Levine Cava, who is an amazing, incredible leader.
We love her at CLEO. She's amazing.
I love her and had the opportunity to learn a little bit more about what Miami-Dade County does. And from there, decided to switch and come full-time to work for her. And I wouldn't be working in Miami-Dade County if it weren't for Mayor Levine Cava. And now I have what I can say 100%. And I want to make sure that this is like a challenge to everyone else that comes on this podcast, is I have the best job in Miami.
That is such a strong statement.
Yes.
I love to hear it.
Yes. And so I get to work on innovation and economic development, which is a oversimplified way of saying, how do we help sustain the economic growth that we've seen since the pandemic? And how do we do that in a way that improves the quality of life for our residents? And so our work focuses on traditional economic development, which is how you build and grow and attract companies. It focuses on economic opportunity, which is how do you make sure that you're supporting small businesses and helping workforce development, and then economic innovation, which is how do we work with the private sector to solve our most pressing challenges, of which one of them is climate, and the reason that CLEO was so nice to invite me to be here today.
Of course. We need you here. We need your background in this conversation. So Miami-Dade County was designated as a technology hub by the EDA October 2023, so last year, and is one of the 31 tech hubs chosen from nearly 200 applicants nationwide. Let's talk about the $19.5 million awarded to the South Florida Climate Ready Tech Hub in July this year. So that was a month ago now. That's crazy. That's a lot of money.
We are so delighted that we got 19.5 million. July feels like it was 3 years ago because we've done so much since then. The designation in itself was a huge deal.
Yes.
I was just in DC after the award came in, and Secretary Raimundo from the Department of Commerce said that it was the most solicited and applied for program that the Department of Commerce has ever done.
Wow.
So the fact that we made it to be one of the 31 designated tech hubs is a huge, huge deal. And we were just delighted to get the 19.5 million.
That's the icing on top of the cake of the whole situation.
It is the icing on top of the cake. And we were only one of 12.
Oh, that's even crazier. That's a smaller, that's like less than half of the applicant of the 31 total. That's awesome.
And so we're using that money to make sure that we are creating a more resilient Miami-Dade County, but not just Miami-Dade County. It's a South Florida initiative. So it goes from Palm Beach all the way down to Monroe. So it's a regional effort.
Okay.
We are working really closely with entrepreneurs, with academics, with the business sector, and with all local government. And we have about 80 partners that are part of the Tech Hub. We have 2 new partners that are growing as a part of the network every week. And so total in the network, we have 400 partners. We have
awesome
database where we're collecting all this information and we can share it with everyone so you can see all of the people that are involved across the region. And more than anything, the part that excites me the most about the work that we're doing is that Secretary Raimundo said that this investment is about taking centers of excellence and turning them into world-class centers. And so she validated that this is not something that we are starting. This is something that we have been doing for years, and now it's our opportunity to scale it because we know what we're doing and we know how to scale it, and we have the ingenuity and the grit to do it. And that validation from DC feels awesome.
Yeah, that's from the biggest stage in this country. Like, that's pretty amazing. And one thing that really draws my attention is how you said that there's over 400 different like organizations and companies and stuff working on this within the Climate Ready like Tech Hub like coalition, we'll say. And that's awesome because it's like, I assume not all of those 400 are focused on climate. Like, they're focused on other things. So it just goes to show like how important it is to build a coalition of people that are maybe not directly aligned on everything, but have a common goal in some way, shape, or form. Like, that's really cool.
Yeah, the network that we've been able to build is really, really strong. And one of the pieces that made us shine is of the 31 tech hubs that were designated, when we that allowed you to apply for funding. So you had to get the designation and then you could apply for funding. All 31 applied for funding. Who doesn't want the money?
Of course.
We all wanted the money.
Money, unfortunately, makes the world move in this economy. So,
but we were only one of 2 that had an equity statement.
Oh.
Yes.
What was the second one?
I don't know.
Okay, that's fine.
Know. I mean, you should know who is our competitor,
But, it's okay because we got it.
But also it is telling about how we're building this, right?
Yes.
And it is the values that Mayor Levine Cava has instilled in our office and the way that her administration works, that equity wasn't an afterthought.
It was part of
it.
It was part of the solution.
And that makes it easier to recruit these organizations to be a part of the network. And then from those, the 80 partners that were really sustaining the effort and were building towards the goals that we established for the Climate Ready Tech Hub.
That's awesome. I love that all of this is coming together in such a beautiful way. More again on the Tech Hub itself. Can you tell us about the specific projects that are generating positive results within the Climate Ready Tech Hub?
So the Climate Ready Tech Hub is a platform that is going to be thinking about climate technology. And the reason that we're building a platform is because we have been the place to build sustainable, resilient infrastructure since 1992, since Hurricane Andrew. You're way too young to remember Hurricane Andrew.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I am not way too young to remember Hurricane Andrew.
I mean, I remember Hurricane Wilma. That's about the earliest hurricane I remember.
I mean, you're really making me feel old.
I'm sorry.
This is the youth perspective. When was Wilma?
I think it was 2005.
2005?
Yes.
Okay. Wilma must have been like my 100th hurricane. I don't even remember it. Isn't that's really sad. That is even the worst part.
I was born in 2000. If it makes you feel any better or worse, I don't know. I'm sorry. That's just the fact.
That is amazing. I have nothing. My kids were born in 2019 and 2016. I was not born in the 2000s, but I do remember Hurricane Andrew. Going back to this point, I do remember Hurricane Andrew. And in 1992, when Hurricane Andrew hit, the whole community came together and they said, we're not going to build like this anymore, and we're going to change our building standards. And those building standards are not just the building standards here in South Florida, but have become a global building standard. So we've been building in a way that adapts and mitigates to our changing relationship with the weather since 1992.
Yeah.
And so what we're focused on with the Climate Tech Hub is how do we take what we know how to do, which is build better products that adapt and mitigate to the changing environmental conditions, and how do we scale those? So the product areas that we're focused on are climate-ready coasts, which is how do we fortify our coasts, climate-ready energy efficiency, so how do we make sure that the heating and cooling that we are doing is done in a more energy efficient way, and then climate-ready infrastructure. So when we're building, how do we build stronger? And overall, what we want to make sure that we are taking and we are exporting across the United States, the ingenuity that we're making sure that we are allowing other people to benefit from, is that we are fortifying the United States in its changing relationship with weather. As we see the climate change, this is not something that just affects us here in South Florida, but we want to make sure that we're taking all this technology and that we're sharing it with everyone that we possibly can and scaling it, to use a super tech word, so that everyone can benefit from it.
Absolutely. The whole point of advancements in technology is to ideally make the world better for everyone. So the scaling it is absolutely necessary so that not only us as a coastal city here in South Florida can benefit from it, but people in the north and in the west and in other countries around the world can also benefit from the same thing. So that's pretty cool. Also, nice to know that Andrew brought about some awesome change. Just despite all the travesty of it taking down most of Homestead. That's what I was told growing up. They're like, oh yeah, all of this is new because Andrew took it down. I'm like, oh, that's scary.
I remember.
Yeah.
I remember driving down the streets and there would be houses with no roofs. And I remember standing in line for ice. And I remember that no one thought it was going to be that bad. And what we said as a community then was, we will not let, from this moment on, we will be ready if this ever happens again. We will make sure that we are building in the way that we can be more resilient, and we've done that. And that is, it's a testament. It took hard decisions at the time.
Absolutely.
And it is a testament of the fact that we were willing to make bold changes. And so when people look, again, when people look globally at who is building in the best ways, they come and they look at us. And so we have that expertise. And I don't think that we've touted that enough. Right? I don't think that we've told that story about the fact that people look at us as the place for, oh, if they're doing it this way, we should do it that way because they know what they're doing.
I don't think I had ever heard that before, which it's news to me, but it honestly makes sense considering we're ground zero for the climate crisis here in Miami. Like, it makes sense that innovations like this would lead to similar advances elsewhere.
Right.
Someone needs a blueprint, and it seems like, unfortunately, we had to begin the process of creating that blueprint. So that's really awesome, in a very roundabout way. Anywho, so moving on, you've been involved in the tech space and in the innovation space for a while, and you co-founded the Miami-Dade Innovation Authority,
Yes.
a nonprofit investment vehicle that supports early stage companies with funding. For your nonprofit, is climate change a focus area for the organization?
So the Miami-Dade Innovation Authority was co-founded by myself and by the mayor, and it's a standalone 501c3, so it is a separate organization from Miami-Dade County, and it's now run by this incredible CEO called, her name is Leanne Buchanan, and she is doing just the best work. And the answer to your question is the Miami-Dade Innovation Authority invests in companies that are solving our most pressing challenges. And so it definitely focuses on climate change as one of the avenues, as one of the sectors that it's focused on. But it is not only focused on climate change. And also it's a public innovation model where it uses challenges in order to understand what technology is working and how the government or other large entities could deploy it. And so the first challenge is, how do you turn sargassum, seaweed, into beneficial uses? So how do you not put it in the landfill? The second challenge is, how do we improve customer service at the airport and make it easier to get in and around the airport? The third challenge is going to be with the Port of Miami and doing cargo visibility. So how do we innovate and also make the port more competitive for its biggest revenue opportunity, which is cargo? And now we're thinking about other challenges. So actually, I have one ask to your listeners, which is, if you're thinking about challenges that you are seeing where you think a tech solution could enable better outcomes, please let us know. And so I will send my email to you, and any sort of ideas that folks have, we want to hear from you and want to hear about where you think technology can make people's lives better.
Absolutely. And considering like we're a podcast focused on like climate change and advocacy and stuff like that, I feel like there's a lot of people, especially young people, that have so many ideas as to how to build a more resilient community. And this could be the perfect opportunity for them to share that with this nonprofit that you've helped create that can help fund that project moving forward, which great opportunity. Don't pass this up.
Well, my email is francesca.covey@miamidade.gov. So this is not a future promise.
Correct.
You should email me. I will connect you with the Innovation Authority. But also, the mayor has a no wrong door policy. So if there are things that you are seeing, things that you want to propose, ideas that you have, feel free to email me. I might not have the answer, but I will connect you with somebody that will give you more information.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's so awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that. Someone definitely will take advantage, I hope. And continuing forward, we've mentioned already now multiple times that climate change and climate adaptation is a major focus area for South Florida. And on that note, water continues to be a challenge for South Florida, not just related to the ocean specifically, our friendly little neighbor that sometimes decides to throw us little storms here and there, but it's in the air with the extreme humidity we've been having below ground and just about everywhere around us. So how is the county addressing water when it comes to building a future-ready infrastructure in South Florida?
So the county is doing many, many things and is paving the way on how to live with water, whether it's sea level rise or water quality degradation in our bay or the compounding flooding across the streets. The administration is working on tackling these challenges. We're investing in resilience. We've lowered the FEMA CRS rating, which means that, have you heard about that?
I have not heard about that.
Oh, this is amazing.
Okay.
So
buckling in real quick.
Yeah. FEMA has these ratings for flood insurance. And it's really hard to move those ratings. But Miami-Dade County worked really, really hard to move those ratings, and we moved them 2 steps. And what that means is that we are more resilient to flooding than we were before because some of the changes that we were able to make. And that's going to affect people's pocketbooks because with a better FEMA rating, that means that your flood insurance goes down. And so we are working now with the municipalities so that they follow suit also. So this is for the county. And we're investing in the restoration of Biscayne Bay, which is a $64 billion a year industry, just the bay itself. So our focus is on restoration and the economic impacts. We have a chief bay officer. Her name is Lauren Parra. She is amazing. And she is the person that is thinking about water more broadly and also the water in our bay. So I would really suggest that people follow her. But I also want to say that the Climate Ready Tech Hub comes from this idea that we have a changing relationship with water. And it all started the way that good tech products start and that good policy starts. So at this intersection of government and tech, which is I grew up here. I remember going to school here.
Correct.
My parents would drive me. And I do not remember the amount of puddles that there were in the road. And I'm not that old where I've forgotten what it was like. But I drive my kids to school, and there is so much water.
Everywhere.
In the air, underneath us, in the road, the flooding, it is just so much water. And so when we were thinking about where we could really scale solutions globally, we locked in, and by we, it's the partners that we have, these 80 partners that have really been the foundation of what we've built and that signed on to be a part of this tech hub from the very beginning and that put blood, sweat, and tears into this application, is we locked in on this idea of water. How do we create technology that helps us better navigate our changing relationship with water? The water that's in our bay, the water that's coming on shore, the water that's underneath us, the water that's in the air, the water that's in our streets. And that's been a really interesting opportunity to reframe the conversation and also make it really focus on South Florida and what we're living, but also to make sure that people really, that they feel it, right? Because, I mean, I think you know this better than I do, but when you talk about climate change or you talk about advocacy, sometimes people don't really feel it. And it can be, and how do you motivate people to really understand that it affects them? And when you talk about
Water,
the puddles in the street.
That's usually like the thing that has them click, especially now in the past couple of years, unfortunately, and let's say like more than 2 years ago, like it's been a drastic shift just because we've been seeing more and more intense storms and tropical storms and hurricanes and the intense flooding, like how Fort Lauderdale Airport flooded immensely. What was it, like last year, something like that? So nowadays, especially like how you're saying, water tends to be like the light bulb that makes people understand like, yes, this is a problem. It's not far away. I can't get to work because my car is stalled.
Exactly. Exactly. And so we're really focused on the solutions that are addressing that changing relationship with water. And so we're focusing on the quality of water, but it's also about how we navigate around the water.
Especially being a coastal community. It's going to become necessary.
Yeah.
So with all of this discussion and everything that's the Climate Tech Hub is doing, that's amazing. What are some easy steps our listeners can take to make a difference? You work, like you said, in the intersection between government and technology, which is such an interesting intersection because how you mentioned earlier, not many people consider those two to have many similarities. So in your eyes, being in that very unique position, what are some of those steps our listeners can take to make a difference for themselves, their communities, for the state, et cetera?
So get involved. Get involved with the CLEO Institute, get involved with Miami Waterkeeper, get involved with the Sierra Club, get involved. There are organizations. I would be remiss without saying that the CLEO Institute is one of those 80 partners that has been a foundational partner and has made the Climate Ready Tech Hub a possibility.
You heard it here, guys. You heard it here.
We would not have won the money if it weren't for the CLEO Institute. So thank you. Thank you to your entire team who has just been such an ally and a partner for so many years. So get involved is the first thing. 2 is we all make decisions every day on how we are living and whether we are being more or less environmentally, I don't want to say friendly, but like if we are taking into account our own little footprint.
Impact, yeah.
Our impact, yes. And so think about the impact that you're having. And sometimes, I understand that it's hard, but we really need to start by taking action at home. So reducing, reusing, all of that good stuff that we've been taught in school and that sometimes we forget because it's easier just to throw something out. And so we need to do that. And then 3 is make your voices heard. Let your local community know that this is important to you. Make sure that you are advocating for the issues that you think are important. Make sure that you are talking about the issues that you think are important. Making sure that you're having people listen to you and the reason that issues are important. And then the last thing that I would say is build a bridge. So there are lots of people that really believe in climate change and understand that it is coming and understand that the world has changed because of man-made decisions. And there are some people where they don't want to believe that, or they don't believe that, and we need to make sure that we're talking to everyone, because this is an everyone problem. And so we need to make sure that we're finding commonality in language and that we are really extending bridges so that we can create the solutions together, because we're not going to do it alone.
Absolutely. It is a team effort.
It is a total team effort, and it's super hard when sometimes you disagree on the language, but we need to move the language is so important because it helps us define things, but we also need to find a way to make sure that we're reaching out to bring people to use that language and not just blocking at the fact that they're not using that language. So we need to collaborate. We need to make sure that we are really motivating people with what we were saying, with those ideas of how it touches their lives. So talking about the changing relationship with water, talking about, the decisions that you can take individually. But that's something that we can all do to make sure that we're all on the same page.
Absolutely. And I just want to take a moment to dial back to what she said earlier about like speaking up and speaking out. If you have any ideas and stuff like that, if you have any ideas on how to innovate within the county, remember she dropped her email earlier.
Yes.
So if you can repeat it one more time.
Francesca.Covey@miamidade.gov.
You have any ideas that would help make Miami-Dade more resilient to climate in general, but water, heat, etc. She's our gal, and she will help you in some way, shape, or form.
And I have to say that because the mayor has this no wrong door approach. Also, if you, not just to climate and heat and resilience, but if you have any other issues, just email me. Email me all of your issues.
All issues.
All issues related to the county government.
There we go. That's a better way to explain it. And then while I'm at it, I also want to highlight a way that our listeners can, get involved. And that is through our CLEO Institute event page. So on the CLEO Institute website, cleoinstitute.org, we have an event page that if you click on it, it'll take you to a list of ways you can get involved, whether it's in South Florida, Central Florida, Tampa and Orlando, North Florida, Gainesville and Tallahassee. Wherever you are, we have so many things that you can get involved in. And if you're looking for a place to start, that'd be a great place to look. It's free for the most part. You just find the event that's happening near you and take part in it. And if it's not with us and it's with someone else, sure. But the CLEO Institute has some stuff for you. And we would love to see our listeners get involved in all this stuff, whether it's through us or through through contacting you, any other club. It's so important to, how you said, take kind of account of what our individual impact is and how we can all make the world just a little bit better collectively, if that makes sense.
Yes, that makes a ton of sense. That's
right.
And it's very inspiring. And also you can join our Climate Ready Tech Hub meetups, which happen every 2 weeks.
Oh, where do they happen?
Online, on Zoom.
Accessible to everyone.
Accessible to everyone.
Accessible to everyone is what I'm hearing. We love accessibility in the 21st century.
And you can look at our database, and that way you can see other people that are doing cool things too.
Amazing.
You get inspired by local entrepreneurs. It's all local. So this isn't inspiration from San Francisco or New York, or they're doing cool things too. But we're doing some pretty rad things.
Doing really cool things here. All right. Well, Cesi, before we close off, is there anything else that you wanted to share with our audience that maybe you haven't touched on yet and you want to just get it off your chest before you head out?
I don't think so. I mean, I do want to know what my feedback is compared to Louis Aguirre, and I think we might need to do like a little matchup. Oh. But aside from that, no, I don't have anything.
I think You held your own pretty well. I think we've had a fun conversation. I'm not going to lie. We've had a little giggle here and there. I like some giggles.
I have not gone swimming with sharks, though, so he definitely has me beat there.
He has all of us beat there, I think. I wish I could go swimming with some sharks. I will one day, I hope.
Do you think that there is a possibility that the next version of this podcast we can do with him and swimming with sharks?
We'll just leave that out in the world and just hope that it manifests into reality, because that sounds really fun. But all right, well, thank you so much, Cesi, for all your work to help Miami-Dade not only build a resilient future, but to establish our community as a leading innovator when it comes to climate technology and solutions. Like, your work is so amazing. Thank you so much for giving us your insight on technology and government and how that can work and connect. So I hope that gives some people who are listening the inspiration to know that they can do whatever they set their hearts to, and it can still help the climate in any way.
That's awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. We all have an opportunity to make an impact in changing the course of how climate change is affecting all of us. Stay informed and stay involved. Together as a community, we can make a difference. Visit our website at cleoinstitute.org to learn about our initiatives, make a donation, and engage with our community. Together, we can make a difference. House on Fire is powered by the CLEO Institute and could not be made possible without the support of the Lynn and Lewis Wolfson II Family Foundation. This episode is hosted by me, Tania Toledo, and produced by Unicorn Fire Studios. The intro music is composed by the Microscopic Orchestra. If you're digging what we do here at House on Fire, make sure to leave us a 5-star review on your favorite podcast platform. It really helps us out a lot. And if you're on YouTube, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe to the channel, and hit the little notification bell so that you know when we drop our next episode. Until next time, stay cool, stay out of the water, and do just something to make the world a better place, a little bit at a time. Thank you for listening to today's episode.